Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This morning, we'll be providing an update into an ongoing major investigation involving vehicle theft and organized crime in Waterloo Region. Here to provide that update is Deputy Chief Jen Davis, who is joined by Staff Sergeant Ian Kerr from our Property and Financial Crime Unit, as well as investigators from our Break, Enter, and Vehicle Theft team. Deputy Davis?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for attending today so that we could provide an update into a substantial investigation conducted by members of our Break, Enter, and Vehicle Theft team. This investigation, which was conducted over a 6-month period, focused on organized crime involving vehicle thefts within Waterloo Region and Guelph. The investigation involved thefts and attempt thefts of high-end SUVs and pickup trucks between June 1st and November 21st of 2023. In particular, suspects targeted vehicles such as Toyota Highlanders, Lexus RX 350s, Chevrolet Suburbans, Tahoes, GMC Yukons, and Dodge Rams. It is believed these vehicles were stolen with the intention of shipping overseas for criminal resale. As you can see from the television screen, the suspects spent time canvassing neighborhoods at night and utilizing reprogramming technology to steal vehicles. Reprogramming occurs when suspects can either gain entry or force entry into a vehicle and use an electronic device to access the diagnostics or computer system of the vehicle. Suspects reprogram a blank key fob, are able to start the vehicle and drive the vehicle away while the keys still remain in the residence. Investigative strategies were developed by members of our Break, Enter, and Vehicle Theft team to target those responsible for this rash of thefts. And this resulted in several search warrants being executed at residences in Cambridge, Guelph, Paris, Brampton, and Mississauga. In total, 45 stolen vehicles worth approximately $3.1 million has been recovered. 8 males between the ages of 17 and 26 from Guelph, Paris, Cambridge, Brampton, and British Columbia have been arrested. A total of 92 criminal charges have been laid, including 39 counts of theft of motor vehicle, possession of automobile master keys, trafficking of stolen property over $5,000, possession of proceeds of crime over $5,000, in addition to other charges. Over the past year, Waterloo Regional Police Service has seen an increase in vehicle thefts tied to organized crime. We continue to have ongoing resources dedicated to these investigations. This increase in vehicle thefts is not isolated to Waterloo Region. It is a growing and concerning trend that is occurring throughout Ontario and across Canada. As part of our ongoing strategy to prevent and effectively investigate vehicle thefts, Waterloo Regional Police Service is grateful to have recently received a $687,000 grant over 3 years as part of the provincial government's Preventing Auto Thefts Grant Program. We are grateful to the Ontario government for recognizing this need to fund and support provincial policing initiatives that target the rising number of auto thefts in our region and throughout the province. Incidents of auto theft can affect a victim's sense of safety and security. We want to ensure the community that we will continue to work in close coordination with other police agencies across Ontario to focus our strategies to enhance enforcement and proactive initiatives aimed at combating crime and bringing those responsible to justice. We also want to continue working in partnership with our community to make Waterloo Region the safest that it can be. If you have information about criminal activity or notice anything suspicious, we do urge you to report it. Reporting crime, providing relevant information allows our investigators to identify suspects and ultimately to solve these crimes. Again, thank you for your time and for your continued coverage of these important investigations. I'm actually going to call up Staff Sergeant Ian Kerr, and if you have any questions of myself or Staff Sergeant Kerr, we'd be happy to answer them for you. Thank you.
Joe from Cambridge today. Just looking at the occurrence map that police have, it shows that a lot of the thefts are actually occurring in Cambridge, whether that be South Division 2, I believe there's another one, maybe South Division 4. I'm just kind of wondering why Cambridge is kind of a hotspot in the region for car thefts. Maybe potential to the 401, if maybe police can speak to that, kind of what you guys can do to, assure Cambridge residents that, they're being looked after.
Perfect. Thank you for the question. I can tell you that we are actually seeing an increase in vehicle thefts across the region. So it's not any one particular zone over another. When it comes to reprogramming thefts, though, we are seeing a higher number of the reprogramming thefts along the 401 corridor. So that Cambridge area, the Dune Road area, and really it does come down to accessibility to the 401. As soon as the vehicles are obtained, they're getting on the 401 and they're driving those vehicles to Toronto or Montreal or wherever they're being loaded up. So reprogramming thefts, yes, that's probably an accurate comment to make, but overall, thefts in general are happening across the region.
And then kind of just to piggyback on that as well, I know police are looking at, in the budget that's coming up, you guys are looking at hiring more officers. So how can this kind of help prevent car theft? Can you guys speak to that and kind of how important it is to kind of have more officers to kind of combat this rising crime?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say the main reason is just presence, having officer presence in areas that we would see where we're seeing trends or increases in vehicle thefts occurring from. Just visibility on the road, the ability to investigate crimes. When we're able to hire more officers, not only does it help the front line, but it also actually helps on the back end. So on the investigative side, ensuring that our investigative units are properly staffed so that we can actually take on these investigations and do them thoroughly. As I mentioned, this one took 6 months, so they do take a lot of time and effort and resources. So just staffing helps across the board. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hi, I'm from CBC, James. Just wondering, how unusual is a crime of this scale to happen in the region? Have you seen this sort of crime on this scale happen?
Mm-hmm. Unusual, I would say it's becoming a more common trend that we're seeing. If we look at our numbers year to date this year in comparison to the past 5-year average, we've probably seen only about a 10% increase in vehicle thefts. So I wouldn't say it's unusual. I just think it's how it's being done that is becoming more advanced. So it's a different way of responding to it. Different techniques of how we actually try and investigate and catch and lay charges, right? But it's happening so quickly. The ability to actually get into a vehicle and reprogram that vehicle and have it in a shipping container in a relatively short amount of time just makes it that much harder to investigate. Right.
As a follow-up, what can people do, as someone who's recently had their vehicle stolen, what can people do if their vehicle is stolen? Is there anything they can do? Is a tracker, can that help, or what are some things we can do to prevent this?
Well, we are seeing, like, GPS does come in handy often for us to try and locate the vehicle. I think another thing is sometimes it comes down to like just the practical thing of how can you make your vehicle not movable. So even things, again, of suggesting things like the club, which actually makes it unable to drive the vehicle. But I don't know that there'd be one specific strategy, but maybe Ian, I'm not sure if you have any
there are multiple ways that you can do this. Oh, sorry. There are multiple ways that you can kind of make your vehicle less attractive for theft. Blocking it in with another vehicle that's not currently being targeted by these thieves. Putting it in a garage. I know they're not necessarily practical for people that don't have those abilities to do that. Because generally what they're doing is they're coming in, they're ripping off, in some cases, the GPS, the factory installed GPS tracking systems, and they're able to block it as well. So if you install an aftermarket one, some people are using air tags. Nothing's 100% effective. I'll be completely honest with that. Sometimes what we're looking for too is the strategy of recovering your vehicle before it gets on one of these CCANs. That's when they may block the signal when they initially steal your vehicle, but at some point they leave that vehicle. And then at that point, your aftermarket GPS tracker or whatever can then help us recover that vehicle and get it back to you. Because I know a lot of the problem here is that not just that they're stealing the car, it takes forever to get another replacement car, especially if it's something that you really want and was very specific. So that's kind of our suggestions for that. There are aftermarket disabling devices that you can buy. We're looking into what ones the best are, and the problem is that with organized theft, the profit margins are so high right now that for every fix there is, they're going to try and get around it. They're going to spend all their resources and time trying to get around it. So essentially what ends up happening is we get a technology, they defeat the technology, and that's how we move from, so we move from relay theft before, which was capturing the signal from the house. They typically don't do that anymore. So what ends up happening now is they now go to these reprogramming thefts where they plug directly into your OBD port and then reprogram their own key. So once we find a way to defeat that, hopefully that will give us some time, and by us I mean the industries, I mean the insurance industry, the manufacturers, in conjunction with the police. We're all working towards trying to find these solutions. But once that happens, they may then move on to a new type of vehicle theft.
Were all the arrests made, like, were they all working together, a group of people, or were they kind of separate operations?
We are suggesting that they are part of a organization.
And then are you able to say anything on their, like, work background? Like, did they have to be familiar with cars or something? Like, I have no idea how to do any of this, but yeah, do you have any insight on kind of their work background?
It's not hard to do. It is kind of where I mean, without getting too much into it, it's fairly easy to figure out how to do it. From my knowledge, none of them had background in, if you're looking for, like, are they auto mechanics? No, not to our knowledge.
So the regional police is asking for a fairly significant increase in the budget for next year. I'm wondering, will a portion of that go to that vehicle theft prevention? Is there a dollar amount you can give? Or?
Well, again, I would say to you right now, like, we will definitely be leveraging the money that we've received from the provincial government with respect to the grant to focus on break-enter vehicle thefts. But again, to give you a dollar amount, it's across the board. So this work starts right from the front line. It starts right from our patrol officer that's responding to these calls, or that's doing proactive work in neighborhoods that are targeted for this type of activity, right through our investigations, right through our communications branch who's taking these calls. So there's not a way for me to give you an ideal amount of how much is actually going to be spent on that. But again, it is across the organization. There's impacted from officers responding to it. Okay. Thank you.
Kramer, City News. I was just wondering if you could elaborate a little bit more on the provincial grant and exactly how that money is used.
I can. So we received, so the provincial grant, it's divided up by different police agencies. And the grant money can be used either to staff positions within our break-enter and vehicle theft team, or to work on different projects that the team might be doing. Getting into specifics, I don't think at this point. We've only just recently found that we're getting it. So we'll be utilizing that and making sure that it's used over the 3-year period that we have for that.
Fair enough, thank you.
Thanks.
Are the people who were arrested, are they still in custody? Sorry to mention.
I am not aware if they're all still in custody or if they've been.
No, I believe some were held in custody at the time of their arrest, and I believe all of them they're out on bail right now.
Do you anticipate more charges or more people are involved?
We're still investigating. I mean, the project itself is done. However, we're aware that organized crime thefts of these vehicles are ongoing with multiple different groups, and we're always looking at them.
Yes.
In the past, we've seen cars that hit the 401 corridor and get dispersed in major cities and then shipped overseas. Have you seen that in this case and maybe where they're going?
So, I mean, that is what we believe is happening, is that they are brought, in most cases, often to the ports, such as Montreal, where they're put on shipping containers and they are shipped overseas, and again, for the purpose of criminal resale and criminal profit. Mm-hmm.
And just as a follow-up, kind of a reach, we just saw that there was arrest made in Toronto for car thefts, and they were saying that people from Service, Ontario, being involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is organized crime, so they have many tentacles. Could that
Mm-hmm.
possibly be the case here? That's something you may be looking at?
In relation to this specific investigation, that is not the case, but as Staff Sergeant Kerr mentioned, like, there are multiple, I would say, groups that are doing this type of activity. So it's not, we haven't solved the problem now. This has been a good closure to an investigation, but the work continues, and we look at all avenues in our response to kind of combating that crime. Mm-hmm.
Just to piggyback on that as well, is there any insight of where overseas they're going? Like, do you guys have any idea what country they're going to potentially? Or is that kind of?
So we know that, like, specifically where our vehicles are going, it's tough to say. I mean, They end up on the ports. We did recover several of them at the Port of Montreal with our partners there in CBSA. And honestly, I don't remember where they were bound for. There was a Middle Eastern country on one of the manifests, I believe. And we know for a fact that Africa is a big consumer of these vehicles. That they like to ship there. So other than that, no specific details on these ones.
Thank you. I think if there's no further questions, thank you very much for your time and again for allowing us to showcase this investigation. Thank you.
Thank you. And for our media partners, if there are any additional follow-up questions, feel free to email public info and we'll look into that for you. Thank you again.